What's up, YouTube? Georgia Silver Hunter back, and today we will be doing a massive customer wrapped coin hunt. As you can see laid out in front of me, I've got $50 worth of nickels, $50 worth of dimes, and $640 worth of customer wrapped quarters. Now, these quarters all came from a Dalton laundromat, which is about an hour north of me. I was at the bank today, and the guy turning these in worked at that laundromat. And I don't know what he was doing way down in my part of the woods, but he told me they bought a sorter to roll these. It doesn't clean out anything. They don't know what they're looking for. They literally just roll them and bring them back to the bank. So who knows what could be in these quarters. So I'm excited to jump into them. We will be starting with the dimes, moving on to the nickels, and finishing with the quarters. And I will fill album spots for the quarters and the nickels should we find any album fillers. So this is going to be a whole lot of fun, so let's jump into it. So as I said in the intro, I'm going to start with the dimes. I'm going to go ahead and open one or two rolls on here real quick. For dimes, lately all I do is silver hunt. So I'll open a couple of these rolls and we'll look for silver together, and then I'll go off camera and look through the rest. And if we don't find any, we will just move on to the nickels. But it's really easy to find silver dimes. It's much like looking for any type of silver in some coins. You just need to look at those edges, and you're looking for a solid sort of silver or gray line. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot to hunt within dimes. You can look in the description down below this video, and I have a little cheat sheet that I use for all of my hunts that you're welcome to download for free and use for your own hunts. But there's just, if you download that document and take a look, you'll see there's really just not much to look for. The 1996 W is one. Obviously, you can look for proof dimes, which I typically look for those as I'm re-rolling these dimes. And then there's a few low mintage years that can be interesting. But I just go blind looking at these dimes, so I don't take the time to do it. So, well, if I can get this wrapper open, we'll look at one more on camera, and then I'll go off and we'll hunt the rest off camera. And if I happen to find something, I will bring you in. So let's see here. I'd love to find some silver here in these first couple of rolls for you, but so far it doesn't look like it's going to work out. All right, well, I'm going to go off camera. I'll bring you in as soon as I can. I forgot to mention when I started these that one of the things I like to do is I've got some of these rare earth magnets. When I do customer wrap rolls, I like to just sort of pass this over the rolls to see if anything sticks, because a lot of our Canadian currency is actually magnetic. And just like that, you can find Canadian dimes. You can find other countries as well. That's not necessarily Canadian, but for me, oftentimes when I find something magnetic, that's what it ends up being. So let's check it out together. And it feels like maybe there's a penny in there too. There's a big wide edge there. Let's see if I can get this open. Get these things out. Come on. I want to start in the front half because we said we had something Canadian. And there it is. A 2008 Canadian dime. And as I said, just like that, it is magnetic. While I have you here, let's see what that wide coin is. There it is. It's a penny. Really can't make out a year, and I don't have my scope on. It sounds like it's copper, though. Anyway, we'll check it later. We are 3 rolls from the end, and I'm bringing you in because we did finally find some silver. Right there, as I said in the beginning of the video, it jumps right out at you. It's a nice big silver line. Now, sometimes silver dimes can come out almost black, so if you get something that looks really gray or black. These green ones are typically not silver, but I always check them because sometimes silver can tarnish and be a bit green. But when we come up here, you can see it right there. It is a 1960. Looks like a Philadelphia, 90%. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a Denver. I forgot that mark is actually the engraver's initials. It is a Denver 1960 90% dime. So the dime hunt is a success. Okay, well, we're through the dimes, and I made a mistake. I think at the beginning of this video, I said I had $50 worth of dimes. I just got done rewrapping them, and I actually had $100 worth of dimes. And in there, we did get this one silver dime, which was pretty cool. We had that Canadian dime, and I'll just leave it over there. And one, it ended up being a zinc penny. I had to weigh it because I couldn't get a year off of it. But we're going to go ahead and jump into these nickels, and I'll be sure to bring you in at our first find. We're on our second roll of nickels, and we have our first find of the hunt. It is a 1952. Oh, where'd it go? I think I dropped it. There it is. So 1952. Let's see here. It is a Denver. Pretty sure I already have that in my book, but we're going to put it aside because we keep all 30s, 40s, and 50s nickels. And, of course, if we can find those buffaloes and those V-nickels, we definitely hang on to those. So we're on roll number 5, and we have our next find. It is a 1955. Now, if it's a Philly, it's a semi-key date. If it's a Denver, well, it's not. So let's check it out. Hoping for a Philly. And, of course, we get the Denver. Still a find, and we'll keep on hunting. We are 15 rolls from the end of the nickels, and we have our next find. It came up here towards the very end, but it is another 50s era nickel. We have a 1954, looks like a Philadelphia. Put it on the board as a find. 13 rolls from the end, we have our next find, and this is how it turned up. We've got a 1958 with a little bit of blue there on it. Don't know where that came from. But looks like we've got a Denver, so that makes, I believe, 4 50s on the box. Same roll, very near the end, and we've got our next find, and it is our first foreign nickel on the hunt. It's a 1985 Canadian. We're on the very next roll, 12 from the end, and I didn't see it when we opened it, but it looks like we finally found some silver in our nickels. We've got a 1945 Philadelphia, and maybe a little bit of a lamination break here. The top part of the nickel kind of runs all the way across. That's kind of neat. But war nickels were made between 1942 and 1945. They took all the copper out of their nickels and replaced it with 35% silver. And during that time period, like in the 40s and 50s, and I think even into the early 60s, the mint mark was over here next to the building. And all your war nickels, it's a giant P, D, or S above the Monticello building. So pretty cool find. Love finding some silver on the hunt. And this may be a book filler. So we are 10 rolls from the end of this hunt, and we've got our next find. It is a 1947. Looks like a Denver. And so we are 9 rolls from the end, and I just got the 9th roll laid out, and the ender on that one was, in fact, a dime. Let's see if we got a good one. Nope, just a 1978. Too bad it's not silver. 8 rolls from the end, and we have our next find. It's another 50s nickel. 1959, the last year that we would call a find. And it is a 59 Denver. Having a hard time hanging on to my nickels today. So we're just 3 rolls from the end, and this one surprised me. I didn't see it when we opened the roll, and we've got a buffalo. It's reverse facing. We have a mint mark as well. Looks like that might be the top part of an S. Let's see here. What do we have? Do we have a date on it? We do not. So we have a dateless buffalo. I'll see if I can nick a date that by the end of the video, and we'll figure out what it is. Well, that wraps up our nickels, and it wasn't a bad little $50 hunt. Bringing you in, I did take the time to nick a date this buffalo, and I'll see if I can get it. Yeah, right there. I was a little sloppy with my nick a date, but we have a 1915 S, and I'll show you my album. This is actually a really low mintage nickel, and one that I needed for my book, so we'll look at that in just a second. But outside of that, we did have 1 Canadian nickel. We did have 1 misstuffed dime. Always happy to find some silver. Unfortunately, this 1945P is already in my book, but I do think it's got that lamination break in it, so this is one I'll probably flip up and put in my little coin collection book. Outside of that, we had a 47. I'm not going to call out the mint marks too much here, but we had a 52. Now, the 54, I know we had P's and D's, so I did separate those. This 55, unfortunately, was the Denver and not the semi-key date. We had a 58, a 59, And I was surprised to see how many of the 2023 Philadelphia nickels we had in there. I pulled one of the nicer looking ones, and I just put that aside, and I'll flip that up as sort of a first find. But there were, you know, in that $50, probably a roll or two worth of the 2023s. I did pull a bunch of nickels to see if I could get some upgrades in the book, and I just did a quick look. 2 or 3 of these might upgrade, but I'm not going to pull you guys in for that. I'll take some time after this video and inspect them all under the microscope and do upgrades as necessary. But real quick here, my Buffalo book, let me grab it. It's right here. And it's filling up quite nicely. But you can see right here, I need this 1915S, only 1.505 million. And we do have that S mint mark on the back. If I didn't show you guys it, I put it under the scope, and sure enough, that does look like the top of the S. I can't really get it in frame here very well, but that is an S mint mark. So we're going to go ahead, and I'll just go ahead and push it in right now. We have a 1915S for the book. So with that said, let's get back into the hunt and start looking at this $640 worth of quarters. And I do have a Series 1 and a Series 2 set of books that I'm filling out. And I think I only need one more quarter for the Series 1 and a bunch for the Series 2. So we'll get into the hunt. I'll bring you in as soon as we find something interesting. So before I actually get into that first roll, I did want to show you guys that Series A book. What we're missing is the 2011 Denver minted Washington National Park quarter. And we need the 2022 Denver minted Anime Wong quarter and the Denver minted 2023 Coleman. Now, I do know I've seen on YouTube the brand new women's 2023 quarters out, so I'll be keeping an eye out for those. And then on the Series B or Series 2 books, you can see we're still missing, what is that, 5, looks like 7 quarters for book number 1, 1 quarter for book number 2, a whole smattering there in the state quarters, and then quite a number here in the national park, and the same 2022 Denver and 2023 Denver, Wong, and Coleman for the women's quarters. So these are all the things we're on the hunt for. Outside of that, we're always looking for silver and W's. So, and then all the many varieties and errors there are in quarters. So let me get cracking into these things, and hopefully we'll bring you in as we find stuff. Well, I was going to bring you in after I got through 5 rolls to tell you all about the things that I've pulled so far, but I came across something in roll number 5 that I just had to stop and show you and talk about for a minute. We found one of the larger die chip. This is called the crown error on the 2021 Philadelphia Washington quarter. You can see the giant die chip up there on the hat. The one you're really looking for goes from the tip of the hat all the way to the back of the hat. That's called the full crown error. I'll put it here under the scope so you can see how massive this thing is. Let's see, where is it? Look at that die chip. That thing is huge. But you're looking for one that goes all the way back to the back of the hat. This one can still be worth quite a few bucks on eBay. I've pulled it up over here so we can look at it together. And of course, it's up to what you're able to get on your own personal sale. But here's somebody that got $4.01 with $4.85 shipping, and it looks real similar to the one I have. So, you know, you can ship this quarter for about $1. So that, you know, this person made about $9 on, you know, $1.25 in spend. Here's one where it's on the reverse side, where this person got $30 plus $4.75. That's more the full crown. We don't know what they accepted. Here's somebody that got $10, looks just like mine. So, you know, as you go through here, I mean, this poor guy only got 55 cents. So you really have to time your auctions and make sure that you do either have a upper or a lower limit on what you want to sell, or even do a buy it now to make sure you get what you want out of the quarter. But even if it's just a $10 quarter, that's a pretty good find, and it's worth more than just a piece of silver. So where do I have it? There it is. This is one we're definitely going to be hanging on to, and I think it's pretty cool. While I have you in here, I have pulled a bunch of quarters for my, you know, book 1s through book, whatever it is now, 4 or 5. But we found some 70s, some 80s, some of the state quarters, some of the national park quarters. We've slowly been amassing them. So everything you see up here, I've got to choose right now the best between these two. But before I punch anything down, I'm just going to make stacks, and then I'll choose the best ones. But we're making some progress here on our Series 2 books. So with that, we're going to get back into these quarters, and hopefully I can bring you in soon. So we're getting through roll number 12, and I'm bringing you in here for this Bessie Coleman quarter. I happened to find a die chip error on this one. Now, I've seen some where they're on like the lips. I've seen some where they're on the hands or the plane. This is one I have found on other 2022 and really the 2022 quarters, and it's this die chip here on the end of the nose. Looks like a little wart. Let's get it under the scope here so you can see it real close. There it is. Nice big hunk of metal. We'll check this out on eBay and see what it's worth. So it's been a little bit. We are up on roll, I think it's 34. Maybe if you pause it and count those up, I might be off. But you can see I've pulled a ton of stuff that will ultimately be book fillers. I have a nice little line of coins over here that are going to be potential upgrades. They were just super shiny, super nice, so I want to compare them against my books. But here on roll 34, we have come across our first really nice find of the hunt. I don't even know which one it is. I do know it's a 2020 because we have the VF privy, or I'm sorry, the V75 privy, and that W mint mark for West Point. Now, for those of you that don't know, they printed or they minted 2 million of these for each of the designs in 2019 and 2020. And when they first came out, some of them topped out around $60, $70 a pop. I think the American Memorial Park is still going for pretty good money. And this is the National Park America Samoa 2020. And this is the one I have the least of, so I'm kind of excited to get this one. I've only got 2 or 3 of these, so very cool addition to my collection. So we are just 10 rolls from finishing this up. We've got 9 here. The 10th roll I've got actually laid out here. I'm about halfway through it. And just laid these up here so you could see this is how the coin came up as I was going through it. And I was shocked when I turned it over. It is a 2019 San Antonio Missions from Texas, but it is that very coveted West Point mint mark. And this one's actually in pretty good shape considering how far out we are from 2019. So this one is really, really nice. It's another find for the board. So since the very first episode of this series, I have needed this 2011 Denver minted Washington National Park quarter. Now, I've already looked at the front, so I'm not going to try to act like there's a lot of suspense here, but here we are in the last 5 rolls of this hunt. We have ourselves here a 2011 Washington National Park quarter minted in Denver. So I'm going to be able to finish off that first series of books that I started, except for the women's book, which I just started in the last hunt. And I already know I have the 2022 Denver Anime Wong, so I'm just looking for that Coleman quarter, which they're brand new, and it may take a while for those Denver quarters to make their way through Atlanta, but super excited to be checking those 2 off of this list and more or less calling the Series A or Series 1 books done. So we have our last 4 rolls laid out, and I already took a look at this under the scope. It's a die chip that I have not come across before, so I wanted to bring it in and show it to you. Maybe something you guys can keep an eye out for. I'll put it under the scope, but you can see it here just with my camera. We've got a bunch of extra metal here down on that pinky finger, and I've got a weird divot taken out of the coin right here. Probably just a little post-mint damage, but and there's a little bit of a die chip here on the word May, but let's get it under the scope so you guys can see it. And I'll back out here. Let's see. There is all that extra metal down here. You can kind of see it right there. Not supposed to be there. And then I do have a weird divot in the coin. At first, it looked like it was an extra button. But when I look at it just under the camera, you can tell that it's actually a divot, like it's a hole in the coin. And then we've got a little bit of extra metal up here on the word May. That middle A there. I don't know if this is going to be worth much. I haven't looked for it on eBay yet, but it was interesting enough that I thought I'd bring you guys and show it off. So I'm on the very last roll, and I went ahead and went through the first half of it, and I had 2 finds. Both of them I've covered on other videos, and this one's not even that great of an example, but this is the 2005 Kansas from Philadelphia, and it is the "In God We Rust" error. And basically what it is where there's some extra grease gets in the die, and the T from trust is barely visible, or in many cases completely gone. You can still see the T. It just has to be mostly gone for it to count. The more valuable ones, you have more letters that are missing. Like I've gotten ones where the N, part of the O, all of the G, I'm sorry, the I, part of the O, part of the G, the entire T were completely missing. So you kind of had an in, odd, we, rust kind of thing. So this qualifies. It's not a great specimen. It's kind of an ugly coin, but I'll put it on the board as a find. And the last one is this 2023 Bessie Coleman, and it's very, very weak. I found one much better on a previous video, but it's an NQ's error, and you can see we've got a little bit of the ghosting of the E here. And the really, really good examples of this, the E ends up way over here, and the C kind of ends up down here, and you almost get a complete ghost of the EC. This one's very, very minor. Don't think it'd be worth very much money. Maybe $1 if you got lucky, because they're, like I said, there are much better, stronger examples of this. But I did find it, so I wanted to include it. Well, that wraps up the rolls, and I have a lot of mess to clean up here, but just really quickly to give you the lay of the land, kind of everything on this side are actual finds, including my bicentennials, which I always hang on to. So we've got lots of die chips and things. I've brought you in for most of it. Our 2 W quarters, and of course our 1 book filler for that last spot in the National Park album, because I only found 1 of them. This is from the earlier part of the hunt. But starting here all the way around, well, to here, are all going to be book fillers for my Series 2 books. And where you see these rows, it's because I've got multiple versions of the same coin. And I'm going to go through these now and dig out the best variety. So when this is all done, it'll be like 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter, so on and so forth. But all of this stuff is going to end up being some kind of book filler. And then everything down the end here, I'm probably not going to pull you in. I'll just give you a number of how many we actually upgrade. But this set of $640 in quarters had some really, really nice state and national park quarters, so I wanted to take the opportunity to upgrade as many coins as I could in both the Series A and Series B books. So let me get this mess cleaned up, and I'll come back with a final tally and maybe show you the books after we get them all plugged in. All right, well, really quickly, here we go. I was able to cross off that 2011 D and that 2023 P Coleman. There they are. And on our Series 2 books, we've crossed off, remember, none of these were crossed out at the beginning of this hunt, so we filled everything but 1 slot in that 65 to 87 book. We will have completed the 88 through 98 book. We've only got 3 coins left in the State Quarter book, quite a few left in the National Park book, mainly Denver's, and those are harder for me to come by. And of course, we're going to cross off that Anime Wong. And here are all the quarters that will go in. So let me get those punched down, and then we'll move on to maybe talk about these finds a little bit and call it done. So we're done wrapping up the books. We did upgrade probably 7 or 8 coins between the Series 1 and Series 2 books with all those really shiny coins we found, and the rest we just tossed back. But I would be remiss if we didn't go through all the quarters real quick and talk about where the value is and do a quick recap. Anytime you do a quarter hunt and you find a W quarter, it's a great hunt. Well, in this one, we found 2. We've got the San Antonio Missions, and we have the National Park here. That is also one of our W's. So I haven't looked at the latest values on these guys. In their height, they were $20, $30, $40 a pop. I know a lot of the W's have settled into kind of that $10, $15, $18 range, and these are in actually pretty good shape. Of course, any hunt where we find some silver, so when we were doing our dimes, we did find 1 silver dime, and when we did our nickels, we had 1 35% war nickel. This die chip error is probably the most valuable one we have on the table. This half crown or this really big die chip on the front of the hat and the condition of the quarter. You know, this is easily an $8, maybe $10, maybe $15 quarter on eBay. Possibly more if you sold it on a good day, but there's some money in that quarter. Outside of that, I did get, I think, 9 of our Denver bicentennials or 8 of our Denver bicentennials, and I got 10 Philadelphia bicentennials. Selling these by the roll can be kind of lucrative. You can make anywhere from maybe, you know, depending on the buyer, you know, $3.50 to maybe as high as $10 a roll when you sell those. And then I had a whole smattering of other varieties. We had some die chips, some smaller die chips I didn't bring you in for. I'll just zoom in on one of these because it was really, really small compared to the other ones. You can see we've got a minor die chip there. That's what these other two were like, so I didn't bring you in for them. I did end up finding 2 of these Anime Wong with the die chip down there on the pinky. Don't know what those are going for. I can't imagine any more than $1 or $2. I've covered this many, many times in my quarter videos, but we've got the die chip and the hair up here on the Wilma Mankiller quarter. We had the Ngodwe Rust error. We had a couple of die chips on the nose for the Bessie Colemans, and we had that one NQ's error here. And I did get 1 metal detector find. So all in all, this was a ton of fun. Apologies if the video ends up being kind of long, but we did hunt a lot of coins. 640 in quarters, 100 in dimes, and 50 in nickels. And with the numbers of finds we had, it just takes a long time to show you guys everything we found. So I do hope you enjoyed this one. Hopefully you did make it to the end. If you did and you like this kind of video, make sure you do click on that subscribe button and then click on that little bell so you get notified each and every time I release a new video, because I want to make sure you guys catch everything I put out. Whether you're new to the channel or returning viewer, make sure you do drop down below and click that like button and leave me a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Let me know what's going on in your world. If you're coin roll hunting, let me know what you're finding. Love to hear from you. With that said, you guys take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.